You're listening to the Energy is Love podcast.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do this.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This is episode 299.
Gonna party like it's
299.
99.
Can you even imagine this whole concept and idea of years, right?
What did we just learn today?
Right, that in Nepal they're celebrating was it the solar, or how do they track time in Nepal?
Oh, I don't it was just, they just said their new year. I don't remember how they tracked it, but it was their new year.
And it was the year 2079.
Yeah, 2079. We're recording this on like April 13th. And so this is not when it comes out. So just kind of like, but that's when they're celebrating their new year. And it's like 2079 in Nepal. My brain was like, how have I never heard this information before? How is this like that's so fascinating. It's so fascinating. I get like just even the time zones, how it's different times in different places. I'm like, oh, we're all like here together. How is it different times, different places?
Yeah,
but
I don't know. I don't know if it's like a.
But 2079.
Guess
what? We all made it through the pandemic. That wasn't funny. I'm sorry. I was like, if you get a message from the future, it's because there's a future. I was being optimistic.
Hindu calendar. It's the Gregorian calendar. Obviously, we need to do some more research. But anyways, that's cool. It's neat. But the concept of time, right?
Yogis. Mm-hmm.
I love that we have all these different BC, AC, and now it's different, right? I told you recently that I learned that it was something other than BC and AD, and now it's some other terminology used to basically structure and confine and label the passing of time. Years of time. But
they can't, it's because it's not linear. They keep trying to figure out ways to make it because it's all over. And so they're just trying. And
is it because it's not linear, or is it because we are evolving as humans?
I don't know. We can do both. I can say you don't have to contradict. I think it's because it's not linear. So you take that, mister. You want to stay?
I'm really
also,
glad.
Now I'm going to get on the, because we're in mountain time, on the mountain standard time and mountain daylight time. Now we have the times. So when we go through the spring forward, I think it's mountain daylight time. And then that's how I remember spring forward, fall back. So I know which ways to set the clock. And then when we're in the fall, then it's mountain daylight time.
I think
daylight time. Shit, I don't know. I try and Google it, and Google won't even tell me. I'm like, how do I know if it's, because it's sometimes we are aligned with Pacific, or I don't even know. It's so, and then Arizona doesn't even do it. And I'm like, how, I don't want to do savings time, daylight time, whatever.
What if we all got rid of it?
I think that would be great.
On the planet, we just got rid of it.
We now do not need to go out and we don't need it anymore. It served a purpose, I guess. And
not
now
just
it
the
doesn't.
daylight savings thing, but just time in general.
Just time?
We're just done with it. What time is it? I don't know. Go look outside.
Oh my gosh. That would be great.
Right?
It's a good thing you got rid of your angry chair, though. I think you would have a harder time with it.
Angry chair.
No, we haven't had it in years, but there was, I just realized I'm going really fast. I'm nervous. I'll try and slow it down. Not nervous. I was a little triggered, a little agitated. I got overwhelmed. And so then when we start to go, my way is to whoop and just go fast past it. But I just heard it, so I'm bringing it back down. So back when we were the beginning
in our previous life
with a house full of kids and trying to go from place A to place B for whatever reason, which was always an event, because when you're trying to navigate 6 people, it's a bit. There's always a lot to do, a lot of people trying to get in when we have one time that we have to leave by. We've been given our go time.
And Dad says what time it is.
Yeah.
And Dad expects everybody to be ready to go.
And then we get reminders as it's approaching of what time it is.
Just to keep everybody on schedule.
And then, well, the 5 of us would take turns being ready.
Never, ever did we get out of the door on time. However, we were always right where we were supposed to be. We were always
right where we were supposed to be. So we would all start to joke about how you would be in your angry chair. We had a rocking chair in the front room. And when you were just waiting for us, you'd just be sitting by the door, or just rocking away. And we're like, oh, he's in his angry chair. We really need to hurry now.
I'm just waiting patiently for everybody to, got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yep.
If only you would have known we were leaving an hour ago when I told you.
Right? I think I'm going to take a shower now, Dad. That's a good idea. Yeah, great idea.
It was so fast.
Because we're actually 5 minutes late, so right. I'm glad that you decided to shower right now.
It's like we hear like we're leaving at 1. It's like, okay, 1 o'clock I start getting ready. Yep. I heard you.
Yep. Hey, what time are we leaving? We already left, actually. 3 hours ago we left. You're home by yourself now.
So I could see how that would have like really soothed and smoothed things over.
We were so different.
We were.
5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
We made it work.
We made it work.
Yeah.
I had to let go of a lot of that stuff because you're like, don't roll your eyes at me.
I didn't. I just like had a big like, oh wow, I just saw a shadow. Like, hi.
When's the last
friend?
time I sat in a ready to go angry chair?
Well, we moved it. So it's not there anymore. So it's not accessible for you.
I do much better now.
You don't get mad when it's time to go. You're really nice. And even like when it hits the part, and it's not like you were mean. You weren't like mean and yelling at people. I would just get
amped up.
You would get really amped up.
Yeah, because I had all my own OCD, ADHD activation going on where it's like I'm always early to wherever I'm going.
Yeah.
And if I'm not like 10 minutes early or 15 minutes early, I am right on time.
Yeah.
And if I'm not, massive amounts of anxiety.
I see, that's so triggering for me.
Right? You like to be about 15 to 20 minutes late.
Well,
sometimes 30.
If it's not a job, which thankfully we don't have to, but I always heard like my dad saying that if you're not early, you're late.
Right.
And I'm like, oh. So
I don't know if that stems, I don't know if that's where mine stems from, is that kind of mentality.
From my dad?
Yeah, I don't think it was from your dad. I don't know what it is. I think it's like, I want to be prepared.
Yeah.
And so if I'm there, I can, because oftentimes I have anxiety about whatever it is that we're going to do. Mm-hmm. So like deep down, subconsciously inside, I'm anxious every time I leave the house because I'm leaving my comfort zone, even if it's the places that we go 1,000 times, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, if I get there early, then I have a chance to deregulate and kind of get back to this calibrated place.
Deregulate or regulate?
Regulate. Regulators.
Mound up.
But I have that opportunity to take a breath and relax before I then have to go into whatever the environment is. So even when it's something that I enjoy, like yesterday when I went to jiu-jitsu, I got there 15 minutes before it started. Luckily, it was open.
I was like, what do you mean? You had to come back and get something?
No, this was in the morning.
Okay. I was like, you're driving way too fast, sir.
So that, I got there late.
Yeah.
The evening class, I got late. I was there late, and that just created a lot of anxiety that took me about 20 minutes to shed, which meant I'm trying to shed that anxiety while I'm trying to engage, interact, and be personable and all that kind of stuff.
I felt that when you were like saying that you were back or coming back to grab it, and I saw what time it was. I was like, oh, it's not going to be happy.
Yeah, you were so good. You were waiting at the end of the driveway for me.
Here you go.
But that's truthfully what it stems from, is I'm just trying to regulate my nervous system. And I've had to find like other ways to do it, because it's not like suddenly everything's changed and we get out the door when I want to get out the door, right? We don't all leave when I want to leave. We're still late. We're still not leaving on time. If I say we're going to leave at 10:30, we really leave at 10:45 or 10:50.
Not always.
Not always. But the majority of the time.
Not the majority of the time. I even pointed out, I'm like, look.
Not a personal attack.
It felt, well, I think it was actually. No, I felt it was directed
because
now there's 3 of us in the house.
He does it too.
He does.
And sometimes I do it.
When it's just you and me. And then I'm like, I'm so excited when I get in the van and it's like that time or just a little bit before. I'm like, look, I pointed out, look, I did it. Yeah. And if it's like a couple minutes late or worse, I just hang my head in shame.
But I've had to learn how to I've had to learn how to regulate that in other ways, because it didn't go away.
Yeah.
I've just had to learn how to manage it differently so that it doesn't extend outward and cause a bunch more anxiety and anger and discomfort to everybody else around me.
You pointing that out, saying that is like such clear awareness. We do this a lot where we're experiencing the same thing, but just on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Is that why you like to be late?
So I the anxiety to go early. And I was just like having awareness. If it's something that I like and I'm excited for, then I have no problem being on time and early. But if it's something that gives me anxiety and I'm stressed about, I am not looking to get there early. I'm like, oh, I will put it off till the last minute.
What does it feel like when you get there though?
Well, honestly, it's already intense. It's already amped up. But when I have that, super unhealthy, to work with this energy, or just say no to things I don't want to do. But there's things I can't say no to that you don't want to do. And you're like, yeah, I guess that's wrong. I can say no, but the thing or person is likely far more important to me. So I can say no. Maybe this will help with that. I can say no, but I don't want to. Like, even though I have anxiety, even though I'm scared, even though I'm like now delaying it because I have anxiety, I'm choosing to go because I'm valuing somebody or something above my discomfort.
Yeah.
That actually calms my soul just to hear. I'm like, oh, that's the choice, and I'm making the choice. So it, like, instead of feeling like I don't have a choice, I have to go, I'm like, oh, I'm totally looking to have a choice, and I'm choosing to go. That makes me happy. It makes me very happy. But anyways, I was saying, like, to double it back, when I'm excited about something, it's not hard to be on time. But when I'm fearful or anxious or just flat out don't want to go or felt like I had to go, then I would delay it. And so when I'm like, oh, and then you have anxiety about doing it, it's likely, a lot of times we're having the anxiety about the same trip. So you want to go early. And I'm like, this horse is not moving. Like, you can like, my heels are dug in. I will not go. But I didn't realize like how you were coming from. I just honestly just thought you were just being like bossy.
Really?
Yeah. It was like, oh, you're being bossy. You just got to go. It's got to be on your time. And
yeah, that's the external, like that's the really easy way to look at it and judge it. And I did that too.
Yeah, it's rude.
I judged myself for it too, right?
I'm sorry.
You don't have to
Both
apologize.
of us are judging you.
It's okay.
Poor Craig.
But the truth of it is that deeper thing that I'm talking about. So I'm curious, like I said, like if it's something that you're nervous about and we're late or you're late to the experience or to the thing, what does that feel like?
Oh, that's right. You
so
asked
like
that.
when you get there or on your way there and then you get there and then you go in.
I forgot to answer that.
Yeah, what does
I'm
that
sorry.
feel like somatically? Kind of what are you going through?
I'm curious about the shift that's going to be now. What that felt like somatically is that's how I got through trauma, and that's how I dealt with things, is to go really fast or to completely disappear. So there's the stress, even though it's not a trauma situation, that's still like how my body. So if I got going fast enough, so delayed enough time, then now it's panic, go fast, go, 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 go. I'm going so fast that I'm not feeling the anxiety. There's no time to feel because you just have to go, 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 go. So I would get going really fast and have things amped up and be, I guess, kind of ready for things to, and then I would also get into the situation and be like, okay, now we're here. Now I can relax or disassociate. So just a few unhealthy ways. And then sometimes, you would show up and find like, oh, okay, it wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. It's okay. I can relax now. Everything was just in my head. And so just having like that awareness too of like, it can be better than you expect it to be. It can be better than, think positive. Think of how you would want it to go. I don't have a lot of practice with that. I definitely get the opportunity to practice that thought. But I really think just the awareness of, oh, this is my choice, gives me that control because I am choosing what I want to do. Maybe it's not how I want to do it, but I'm choosing whether or not I'm showing up. It's my choice. So that was very calming. We'll see if
we'll remember it tomorrow.
Yeah, right. Good thing we have it recorded because we always remember what we talk about on the podcast.
Yeah, we know exactly what last week's episode was about.
That was some super good awareness. I'm really excited to have that awareness.
Yeah. I don't think I've had the full awareness. I mean, I knew that I was anxious, but I didn't realize to the fullest extent. Like I'm trying to think of, I guess, the things that aren't in regards to time. I feel much more comfortable doing. Like if I'm running down to the grocery store and there's nothing, I'm not trying to accomplish a set of errands in order to get to location B on time, or I'm not trying to, anytime I'm in some sort of linear structure of point A, point B, point C, D, so on and so forth until I get to the goal. And then after the goal, something happens, then I have to go back home or something like that. But that whole movement and that style of movement creates anxiety for me.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't have that, like the times that you and I have just gotten, for our honeymoon, we did an episode, actually we haven't had it, episode 300 that comes out soon, was recorded on our anniversary. And for our honeymoon, we did this beautiful thing where the day after we got married, we rented a fun car. We had a Charger,
mm-hmm.
and we got in the car in the morning just here in our driveway, and we used a pendulum to direct us where to go. So it was just asking, should we go north, south, east, or west? And we just used that pendulum for a long time, taking us wherever it chose to take us.
Our rule was like staying off freeways. Like
Yeah.
we were taking back roads, scenic,
Yeah.
and allowing it to guide us on places we haven't been and haven't seen. It was a brand new journey that we just surrendered to.
Yes. And that was so beautiful and freeing.
Loved it.
And that was like, I don't know if I've ever had a road trip or vacation or an experience like that wasn't structured around time and location and reservations. And so that was a really cool experience that we had.
I loved it.
The day after we got married. And we've had similar experiences since then. Like in some ways we kind of try to recreate that, I think, with some of our experiences, where it's sometimes we have some loose plans,
Mm-hmm.
but we just allow for the freedom to go at the pace that we want to go at with no structure to it. And I love that.
I love that.
I
Just
do
let it
too.
unfold how it's going to be. And
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a really ideal way for me to not just travel, but move through life.
Yes.
And when I have to start structuring it, and it's fine, right? I understand the context of needing to accomplish things and be places and not responsibilities, but obligations to other people and things like that. I'm all fine with all of that stuff, but that immediately starts to activate some anxiety in me. And when I can just go with the flow in life, I feel so much more like in rhythm and in harmony with not just myself, but kind of how I want to be and kind of how I should be, I think, at least for me.
Yeah.
So I'm liking that our life is getting to be somewhat more and more like that.
As we just like incredibly scheduled.
Yeah, we definitely
so
have
we
to
can get
structure and
things
outline.
done. Our calendar is like repetitively booked.
Yes.
And of course we have.
But that brings me comfort too.
It does,
Isn't
because
that
we're no
funny?
longer like trying to fit in time in between things. It's like, okay, we know we're doing this. That is so funny. That is such a contradiction.
Right?
Just like the go with the flow. If there's something that comes up and it's like 4 hours away, and I'm like, oh, I don't have enough time. I can't. And you're like, really? You don't have 4 hours isn't enough time to get. I'm like, yeah, there's just not enough time.
Oh, this thing's at 3 o'clock
It's
and
too
it's 9 in the
stressful.
morning.
I can't.
Man,
Like, I don't think I can make that, because then there's like there's like it's not gonna work with the flow that I have. Dinner at like whatever time we get to it, and it throws everything.
Yeah.
And then I get so uncomfortable with not knowing when things are where, but then peace in the schedule. Like,
I think it's our
that's
schedule.
So,
and that's why it's peaceful.
oh, is that your thing? It always comes back to yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, as long as people are working around.
Well, it's not even that, but if I'm the one that, and when I say I, right, I mean, you and I are doing it together.
Yeah, we
We're
are.
creating our schedule.
You and I are creators.
But that I feel way more at ease with than if I'm on somebody else's schedule.
Yeah.
Anytime somebody
I
else
just
is,
had to take a breath.
right?
Whew.
Like if somebody else is, this needs to be done by tomorrow or the next day or whatever it might be, but fuck you. How about that? How about I'll do this when I want and you'll get it when I tell you. I'm not going to go ahead and change my schedule. What's your schedule consist of? Well,
Like nothing today, but that's not the point.
I'm going to play the
Super
guitar
busy.
here in a minute. And then after that, I might just sit.
does it just circle back to don't tell me what to do?
It's exactly what it is. It's totally a kid. Right? The best times as a kid is when you were just playing.
Yeah.
What time? I have no idea.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
It's either you have no idea what time it is, or it's, oh shit, I'm in late trouble.
Yeah.
I'm in trouble late. Those are the only two times when you're a kid. La 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 la. Or
yeah, I loved the expectation of coming home when it was dark.
Yeah.
Loved it. That was so nice. Because then it was like, what time? Well, just when it gets dark. How dark? Well, try. Come home, figure that out.
I had to be home when it started to get dark.
Yeah.
When it started. Like as soon as it started, and if I didn't get home in the right amount of time. Now, I lived in a very small town, the base of a mountain. Very cool. So everything was like within ear's distance unless you were off in the boonies, but your friends' houses were all close. So my mom would whistle. And so I'd be out and about and hear the whistle and be like, oh, I gotta go home.
Does she have a whistle too?
Oh my gosh, so bad. Yeah.
That's so
it's
funny.
It's loud, as you can result. So I was already preconditioned to your whistle.
Right. You already had the Pavlov's response to the Pavlovian response to the whistle.
I absolutely did.
I've got a mean whistle, not like in a mean way, but I got a loud, crisp and clear that all the kids are super attuned to.
All in tune to. We were somewhere, and it was just me and the kids. I don't even remember. Somehow we were like in some store, whatever. You were over here, and it was just us. Mm-hmm. But we heard somebody else whistle. And all of us were like prairie dogs and like, and then it wasn't even you. And we caught ourselves. And so that was funny because when it is you, then we just move.
Right.
But when it wasn't, we were like, ah.
And I have a whistle that like.
It's very distinct.
And I can differentiate it so that it can be stand out above the crowd of whistles. And then you know what direction to go.
Yep. It's great.
It's useful.
It is useful.
Part of me feels like a jerk, but at the same time, I think it's really a cool thing.
I can hear I can hear both sides of it. Like, they're like, are you serious?
Right.
You whistle and your family comes. Like, it's so negative.
Yeah.
But you're not like, get over here. You're not like, herding us.
It's just a wolf pack thing.
But we're out and it's
Crowded,
so hard.
Because
what else are you trying to do? I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, Marco.
We've used it so many times.
Or phone calls.
Like
it's the same thing.
Like when we would go to the amusement park or something, and there's so many people, and it's a big crowd, and the kids are old enough to wander in a sense and kind of do what they do, and But at the same time, it's like
the pitch is high enough above the noise that you can hear it.
That's so funny.
And when the kids are like in a school performance for some sort, and everybody's going. You have that whistle and they hear it and they know that's for them.
See, that's a good thing.
It's so cool.
Like they know their dad's whistling for them in the crowd.
And they know that I can't whistle and I'm like, wah! I try and I spit my gum out in the person's hair and I was like, woo! I have a good woo! I just don't have a good whistle.
That's so funny.
Because another funny like tidbit of the whistle. My dad would whistle taps to wake you up in the morning. And it was like ice picks in my brain.
Yeah.
I hate it so bad. To this day, I hate the sound of it. So I'm also not a fan of whistling because whistle was like time to come home, time to get up. So no wonder I'm like, I can't whistle. There was no reason I would want to learn how to do that. I hate to whistle.
That's cute. You're cute. Let's go into what we were going to talk about, or what we're talking about this episode. Yeah.
Do you want a quick like real life update?
Sure.
Real fast.
Yeah. Is this behind the scenes news? Is this?
It is. It's because inquiring minds want to know.
Let's hear it.
There was a moment in one of our older last podcasts that you made a reel about making fun of me because
me.
I was like questioning whether or not you were able to wash your eyeglass cleaners, the cloths.
Oh, yes.
Because I didn't want it to lose its like microfibery cleaning thing. And your face was like, what is wrong with you? You're disgusting.
Yeah, the little lens cleaners that you get with your glasses for free. Stephanie was nervous to wash those.
I didn't like, Like, it didn't get anything other than fingerprints off,
because they're magic.
And then it would,
And
like,
if
you
you
wouldn't be
wash
able,
them-
it would just start smearing then. It wouldn't even get the fingerprints off.
Right. If we wash away that magic, they're not going to clean the glasses.
So as he was making fun of me, so I decided after that conversation, when I heard it, I'm like, oh, it's kind of gross. Like, I bet you can. I washed them. And before we came up to record, I tried it for the first time. And it's amazing how fast it cleans your glasses. You're like, "Toot, toot, toot," clean, instead of
sitting there rubbing the grease over them over and over and over.
And then it's still smeared. You're like, why?
Now I got to get new glasses. These damn glasses won't even stay clean.
So if you're
using some ass rag to try to clean them.
It's like, I know I'm
it.
not the only one. I know I'm not the only one out there that had that like really weird quirk. So you can wash them. I chose to do it in a load that did not have Downy though. Just the dish, not the dish soap, laundry detergent.
Yeah. I've never washed those before, so I would have never thought of it either.
Then why did you give me that face?
Because it's cute.
You were like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, it was cute.
So go wash your eyeglass cleaner cloth things. It's definitely time.
So we're going through this yoga teacher training, and it's amazing. We're having so many beautiful experiences already, and we've only been in it for a few weeks. And for me personally, I had some awareness that I wanted to share on the podcast because I think that other people out there may resonate or connect. And it was just really an insight. So I have all of these hang-ups around yoga my whole life. And when I say my whole life, it's not something that's been in my life for very long. Probably in the last, truthfully, since you and I got together. I don't think I ever did yoga before meeting you.
Yeah.
And if I did, it would have been, I don't think I did actually.
Really?
And so it's only something that has been in my life. I think I was obviously aware of it, but it wasn't even something that I was really interested in or drawn to. And even over the course of our relationship, because there was a time period where we were going to yoga on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And it always felt weird. I didn't like it for a bunch of different reasons, but I've been really resistant to it over the course of the last 10 years or so. And it's strange because I would hear people talk about it and I would think, yes, I need to do that. And I would go like, Mark Johnson, who's been on the podcast a bunch, he is super into yoga, and he's also jiu-jitsu. He's also a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's got his own jiu-jitsu school. And I've heard Rogan talk about it before in regards to how the benefits of it, and also how it transfers over to jiu-jitsu in a really positive way. And all of these things were like, yes, I need to do yoga. And then sometimes we would try to do it here at the house, and I would try to do it. I think for a while I was even convincing myself I would do it when I would travel, and try to like maybe once or twice try to do it when I was on the road.
Mm-hmm.
But I always resisted it. Just always resisted it. And even now, like leading up to this yoga teacher training that we're going through, and the part of the training that I really resonated with was less about the physical act of yoga and more about the mindset and the lifestyle of living that spiritually connected yogic life, and learning some of the deeper meanings behind that, and then also ways that we're going to be able to kind of not use it, but just live it in our everyday life. That stuff was really resonating with me. But in the back of my mind, I was like, man, when it comes time to start doing poses and stuff, I'm going to have a really hard time. And I knew that in my head. And this is funny because it's like, it's full on like teacher certification. And we're going to have to start filming sample not teacher trainings, but classes and things like that, and all this kind of stuff. And
it's an immersive 8-month, at least 8-month program.
It's a big program. It's got a lot.
Wrapping everything, not just like the positions. It's not just the asana.
Mm-hmm.
It is the yoga lifestyle. We're embodying it.
Yes. And when I started to think about the physical practice of it, and I realized that what came up for me was how resistant I was to the idea of slowing down with my body. And it was interesting because I've done so many physical things over the course of my life. I'm very athletic. I enjoy challenging things. I enjoy hard physical things. I mean, obviously we talk about jiu-jitsu a lot. That's a very physical martial art, right? I love it. There was a time period not long, 5 years ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago, where I was running a lot, and I was running like some really good miles every day and just pushing my body in these really hard physical ways. And that's always been how I connect with my body. I connect.
One day you just decided and like did a half marathon. Yeah. Just on a whim. Yeah. Like it was like that integral in your time, your space.
Yeah. If I'm going to use my body for physical activity, it's going to be intense, and it's going to dump some adrenaline, and it's going to be challenging and hard. And what's even better is if I come away with some bruises and some scrapes and some wounds from it. Like my favorite thing used to be when I was a kid was to go up to the mountains and run around in the mountains, and then you get cuts and scrapes on your legs and your arms, and like even better if I fall down and get a massive cut on my leg and I have to like do something. Like all of that type of really intense physical activity has always been really enjoyable for me.
You accepted pain for your body.
Exactly. In order for me to kind of not just enjoy something, but to do something, I had to, in some way, shape, or form, like my body had to suffer.
Yeah.
And
it had to hurt.
It had to hurt. And the hurt was the thing that like powered me on. Like when I used to run, or like if it's a really intense hike or something like that, the more pain I'm experiencing, the harder I can go and the farther I can go. And like I remember when I was a cop and I went through SWAT school, that's a very physically demanding week.
Yeah.
And it's like I wanted it to hurt even more. Like I would lean into that pain even more. So if like my legs were, you wake up after sleeping for an hour and a half and your legs are just completely solid, cramped, all your muscles, your hamstrings, your calves, everything are just locked up. I'm like, great, let's go run for 5 miles.
Yeah. And
I would get into that run. And by the time, 10 minutes later, all that adrenaline, and I'm pushing and I'm pushing and I'm pushing and I'm creating so much momentum, and like the mental aspect of I can accomplish all of these really hard things fuels me. And it's this really big driver for myself.
It was really intense when you got home from that, and how like
from SWAT school.
Yeah. We would like just kind of a different perspective on what it was like to experience that kind, because you're how it was for you physically, but then the space around you, we would go running together, and we
like
both
after SWAT.
we were both very aware that I did not have your abilities, but I tried my best. You're like, you're oh, was it the tea?
Yeah, I got the bottom of the tea.
I mixed it up.
It's really good.
I even put some honey in there for you.
I liked it.
So you could have the lemon and honey and the detoxing and the ginger.
Yes.
Anyways, it was like, I'm sure there's like just my perspective of it. It was really hard because you you're like, oh, it's fine. We can go at your pace. But it was just like this push, and it wasn't even a warm up. We had to start running from the moment we got out. We were timing everything. I couldn't stop. And if I had to like walk for a second, which I pushed through and not, because you would get mad and like turn off your watch because it couldn't track you not. And so like trying to like push through, and then you would go SWAT surprise and like drop and do push-ups and go on. And I'm like, I hate this. I got shin splints. I started gaining weight. I was like, I'm done. Yeah. And I quit. Yeah. And you kept going. You kept. And I think like, I don't know, but it felt like you were happier because then you didn't have me holding you back and you could really push. And it was like, oh my gosh, I didn't have awareness of it at this time, of how much that was just like you hurting and hurting yourself. I had no awareness.
Me neither.
It was like, I wish I could have been like, go back
that's
in
what
time.
That's what it's been my whole life.
Yeah.
Like from the time that I was a kid, it was intense, physical. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't, let's ride our bikes around town.
Mm-hmm.
Let's ride our bikes in the most dangerous way you could imagine, off the steepest things and over the biggest, it's like, let's find the thing. Craig would find the thing that had the chance to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go right for that. And that's what I would do.
That is I know you're aware, but like that is a common trauma response.
Yeah.
Because it's like craving that to get past the pain, get past the emotions, especially like the stuff that you can't even see, that your natural ability is to cover it up with all of that. Because what are you thinking about when you're in those moments, when you're pushing your body hard and when you're in the thing that could kill you? You're not thinking about the stress. You are there. You are free.
Yeah.
In that moment from the trauma. So that is such a missed trauma response.
Yeah. And I think it's like for men, it's not to say only men do it, right?
Yeah, it's definitely not only men, but it is.
It's really common in men.
It's really common in men.
And it was
because men are only allowed to be angry and tough.
Yeah.
So, I'm allowed to do this.
Channel that type of coping mechanism in this really seemingly positive way, where suddenly now I'm
taking care of myself,
getting physically fit, and look at how much more I can push myself.
Look how strong I am. Look how healthy I am.
Yeah, all of those things. And there's a balance here. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with physical fitness and being healthy, and there's a balance to this. But for me, I recognized, and this is just recently, I recognized what I was actually doing and how I was continuing to, like you said, it's a coping mechanism for the avoidance of dealing with what my actual body is experiencing.
It's how you're surviving what your body is experiencing.
Yeah.
It's how you keep yourself alive.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, the more intense it is, the more danger it is, like the more adrenaline that is involved with the activity, right? Whatever it might be, the happier I am, the more I feel like I thrive, and the more I'm more like, that to me feels like I'm in the zone, and I'm like in this really happy flow state where I'm connected to my body and I'm using it to its maximum capacity. And there's good aspects of that at times. And I'm not saying it's a terrible thing if you do that by any means, but for me, I wasn't balancing that with anything else. And I realized that's why I've been so resistant to yoga, because yoga is the complete opposite.
It is. I think before you get into yoga, I just heard like what another layer of that is. And I think like pushing yourself to those capabilities for, yes, you're punishing yourself, because that's also a trauma response that happens in different ways where you physically harm yourself. But also when you're proving like you're feeling fueled by when you're in pain and you can keep going and then you go harder and what you can accomplish is like proving how strong you are. But not just like it's proving, like, I guess the way that I'm seeing it is it's taking your power back in that sense, because to use a triggering word, you will no longer be a victim. Look how strong. Yeah. Look how strong. Look how strong. Look what you can take. And it's like giving you that. You're turning into your own protector and seeing an abuser. But there's like the level, because your body isn't seeing you being your abuser. It's showing you what you saw was the strength. So turning you into that is the way that your body or your ego would protect you and keep you alive. So it's like, oh, we know how to survive this. Yeah.
And I did that from childhood.
Yeah.
I have two older brothers, and it was like how hard, I mean, literally it was, I remember my older brother, Adam, I think it was a necklace that was probably with several things, but this specific thing I'm referencing now, I think he had a necklace that I wanted to wear. What's funny too is it was a small necklace that was a yin yang symbol, and it was like one of those mood ring things where it would change colors.
Very cool.
So it was a very, very like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Not only was it this super cool thing, but it was also my big brother's, and I wanted to wear it. I wanted to wear it to school. And in order to get to wear that, the way that I was like, the way that I got to wear that, got permission to wear that, was he got to punch me in the stomach as hard as he could.
And he's how many years older than you?
4.
4. Do you remember how old you were?
Probably like, 10th grade, 6th grade. No, like 5th or 6th grade, like probably 10 or 11. Grade. Yeah.
So you got like...
And so that was the thing, was like, I could stand there.
That is a big difference at that age. He is much bigger.
Yeah.
Much bigger.
Yeah.
Wow.
I could stand there and like flex my abs as hard as like, and then he could just punch me as hard as he could. And if I could take it, then I got to wear the necklace. So of course I could take it, right? Because I want to wear the necklace, and I have to like survive. And
that goes right back to you're not going to be hurt.
Yeah.
Like even like they can throw their hardest punch at you and you're going to be okay.
Yeah. I mean, I would never,
my goodness,
never, ever admit being hurt.
Right. Oh, I know.
Do you know what I mean? I remember when I fought, because I fought in the cage twice. Yeah. And this was in my early 20s. This was at the beginning of learning, like, I'd been training jiu-jitsu for a couple of years, and had the opportunity to go up to Washington and fight. And the first fight happened so quick, and I knocked the guy out like in the first round. And that was really cool, and that was a neat experience. And there wasn't much, it was like in the first 2.5 minutes of the fight. And next thing I know, I knocked the guy out, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was so cool. That was the first time that I ever actually knocked somebody unconscious. And then like a year later, or 8 months, I don't remember how much later, it wasn't that long after, the second time that I fought, I had been out from training for probably like a month and a half, because I had hurt my rib. And so I hadn't been training.
Is that injury?
I think so.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think a month was enough time to go. Of course you were like... Of course
it wasn't, right?
Yeah. I'm fine.
Yeah, I popped my rib out in jiu-jitsu, and it hurt really, really bad.
You had to break it. Your rib is still... It's healed out.
Okay, so I broke my rib.
I popped it out. He broke his rib and then decided like... Hold on. There's enough time.
I'd been recuperating for about a month and a half. And the guy that taught me everything back in the day in jiu-jitsu...
This is before my time. So.
Yeah, this was pre-Steph. Although it's... literally, I went back to class this week with broken foot, with my ankle all jacked up. It was so funny. I walk in and Keith's like, "How are you?" And I'm like, "I'm okay." And he's like, "How's the ankle?" And I'm like, "It's all right." And he looks at it and he's like, "That's fucked up still."
It's visibly.
It's like, that ankle, that looks like shit. That ankle,
And it looks so much better.
I'm like, yeah, it's fine. That's why I go to class and roll with it. So that's kind of the mentality that I've had my whole life. And the second time that I fought, and it's not to say it was an excuse. I've always minimized it, trying to, it's not an excuse that I had this injury in my ribs, but it's just a factor. Now? Yeah, it's just a factor. That's kind of the fight game. That's the mentality in that sport and in that space. You fight injured. That's just a normal thing.
Do you hear it?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm just checking.
I'm not saying it's correct or accurate or healthy in any way. It's just the reality of the mentality of that space. And it's also a badge of honor, which is silly, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, that second fight, I got my ass beat.
Yeah.
Like the guy...
It hurts to breathe with a broken rib.
Hold on, let me tell a story of getting beat up.
Just like, oh my God.
So this guy just dominated me for a round and a half. They were 5-minute rounds. And the first round... I survived, but he was pretty dominant. And then the second round, same thing, came out and he just dominated and ended up on top of me in mount. And he had one arm pinned down with his leg, so it was trapped. And then the other arm he pinned down with his other hand. So he had his right hand, he's right-handed. So he had his right hand completely free to just punch me in the face.
Oh my hell.
Repeatedly, right? So total straight up ground and pound.
This way.
And after the fight, and even like for years and years and years, and still today, I still have a part of me inside that sees it this way. I was so happy because the entire time I took that beating, my face was jacked, right? Everything was swollen. I was jacked up. And I was so happy that I took it. And not only did I not lose consciousness, but I never lost awareness of what was going on. So I was completely aware of everything. I could hear the ref talking to me the whole time, trying to tell me to, move and do stuff. And for me, it was a new level of the level of physical pain that I could endure and still be mentally present and cognitive of my surroundings.
You're going to survive.
And that helped me so much later on in life in law enforcement, because I had real world experience of being in a physical, legit altercation and fully knowing that if that happened, I was going to be cognitively aware and be able to make steps to protect myself. So it was really beneficial on one level. But the moral of this story is how much abuse I put my body through over the course of my life, and how resistant I have been to slowing down and using my body in this very slow, methodical, connected, spiritual, yogic way.
Yeah. From
every time that we've done yoga over the course of our relationship at those different time periods, I always push it to the extreme. Mm-hmm. If they're like, and if you want a little challenge in this pose, then do this. And that's what I hear.
You're like, I will balance on my pointer finger.
I'm like, challenge, done. And they're like, hold that pose a little bit longer. I'm going to hold this pose as long as even after you say stop, I'm still holding it, and I'm pushing and I'm pushing and I'm pushing. And so I realized that recently, like last week. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been so avoidant of slowing down and connecting to my body. And it's because subconsciously I knew, right? When you slow down, and if I actually start feeling my body, I knew what I was going to feel. Yeah. I knew what was in there subconsciously, right? I knew all the emotion that was buried. I knew all the pain. I knew all the hurt that it's still in there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I can still feel it. And I know that over the course of the next several months, as we dive deeper into this practice and get more and more connected through the physical aspects of yoga, I'm going to start healing a lot more of that energy that is still inside of me, because I still go to jiu-jitsu and abuse my body, right? I went to class last night and I'm injured in multiple places. My wrist is really injured, my ankle, and I have all sorts of injuries. And I told myself that I was going to go to class and just roll really light. And I was going to make sure that everybody that I rolled with knew that I was injured, and everybody's really respectful and understanding. That's what you said
to me before you go. You laughed. It's like, this is how I'll do it.
Yeah, that's what I intended to do.
Yeah.
And the first kid that I rolled with, and I say kid, he's not a kid. He's younger than I am. But the first guy that I rolled with went at a faster pace than slow. We'll just say that. He wasn't trying to hurt me by any means, but he was very much trying to get the upper hand and roll, right? I mean, that's the name of the game in some circumstances. And rather than communicate to him and say, hey, do you mind if we slow it down a little bit? Which he totally would have been like, oh yeah, absolutely.
But nobody at the gym thinks Craig's ever going to want to go slow. No. It's like you will go slow for other people and take care of other people and be sure. But if it's
if somebody wants to go,
you're going to go. That's like, cool. Yes, I can go.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Right. So still I'm abusing my body in that way. And I'm still resistant to not just slowing down and allowing my body to slow down, but also the mental game of how much that signifies. It's not a really truthfully, Steph, it's not there's a surface level of it's weakness and I can't be weak as a man and all those kind of things. That's the surface level. Mm-hmm. But truthfully, it's the deep, deep down inside. It's the little boy that if I that's what it is. It's that little boy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I have this adult version of me and this higher self version of me that recognizes it. But there's still a little boy inside of me that's fighting. And especially, jiu-jitsu is a beautiful art, but it is fighting. in a very controlled way. And it activates that little boy inside of me that will not lose.
Yeah.
I will fight like up until unconsciousness, or like I've had my teeth chipped and damaged. I've had, my jaw dislocated. I've had all of these things that could have been easily avoided if I just tapped. But I won't tap. I will not quit. I will not give up, because there's a little boy inside of me that is trying to survive.
And then people come to you and say, hey, you got to talk to your son, because he needs to learn to tap, because he will hold out and not tap, and he's going to get his arm broke, because he's a tough kid, but he's watching you. He's a tough kid. Are you okay? No.
Yeah, if you just want to take a second and kind of acknowledge that little boy, that'd be great, rather than highlight something that I'm failing at as a father.
That's definitely not what I was doing. I was
This is
knowing that you would relate with that little boy.
I haven't I had this awareness a few days ago, and I haven't gone back and really processed it and thought about it, partially because I was saving it for the podcast, but I think also because that's what it comes down to. That's why I've always gone as hard as I possibly can go, because that's how I survived, and that's also how I got away from the trauma in my childhood. The only way out of that for that little boy was to fight. And the only way out for him was to fight, like with everything that he had. And it's not even just like failure isn't an option or losing isn't an option. It's life or death is what it feels like. So there's that little boy inside that's trying to not die. And yoga feels like I might die if I slow down enough. So that like little boy inside of me is like, yeah, let's do some slow stuff. And then I start doing slow stuff, and he's like, hey, can we make this painful? Why don't you hold that pose a little bit longer? I'm really grateful that we have this podcast, and that we share these things, and we're vulnerable, and that we open up, and I am truthfully grateful, and I'm like really happy that we do this. And then there's a lot of episodes that I'm there's some stuff that's just really, really hard to feel. And people listening may not understand the full gravity of what I'm kind of experiencing right now, just because they obviously don't have my experience. And there's things on this podcast there's things in our life that we don't talk about on this show, and we may never talk about. Who knows? I don't know. But there's definitely a little boy inside of me that's still fighting to survive. And I don't even think that, that little boy's wild. Do you know what I mean? Like, that was one of the things that my brothers stopped fighting me and stopped kind of attacking me, because that was crazy. That's how, that little boy is a wild, wild child. He's crazy. It's the kind, that's like a wild animal that chews its own foot off to get out of a trap. That's what that little boy would do. It's like, oh, you think you're going to trap me? I'll cut my arm off. You remember that 127 hours or whatever, that story back in the day, the guy down in Moab that got stuck under the rock? I totally do that. I totally understood that guy. I knew I had that in me. And it's a strength, and it's a beautiful thing, and I'm glad that I've had it, because I've had to survive some really difficult things in life. But I'm at a point in my life where I'm not trying to fight for my survival. I'm not in danger. I don't have something trying to threaten me or hurt me anymore. So I think I'm going to start thinking about that little boy that's still trying to fight to stay alive as we continue with this yoga that we're doing. And it makes a lot of sense now why I've been resistant to it. I still am. You know, like we've been trying to do it every day and start really cultivating a healthy practice of it. And I want to, and I'm going to continue, and it's important. But if something comes up, we're like, oh, we're not doing it today? Cool. I'm not anxious to get back into the, we've got a nice little space set up where we're practicing, and then I'm not anxious to get into that space. But every time we do, I love it. And every time I do, it's benefiting me. And I really need to start using jiu-jitsu in a different way. It has been such a gift for me, and it can continue to evolve with me if I let it. So thank you for kind of letting me finish. You can say something now. I don't know what else to say, babe. I would appreciate it if you said something.
I have that quote from The Body Keeps Score that might your little boy might hear it. I think
He's listening.
I think it's obviously, I think you said it better than the quote now, but it's like yoga is about looking inward instead of outward and listening to my body. And a lot of my survival has been geared around never doing those things. And it's, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know how to look inward, right?
Yeah.
That concept is relatively new for me in life. And it's always external. It's always outward.
Yeah.
Because that's where the pain came. Well, babe. I'm sure you can relate to some of this.
Yeah.
We can, I didn't want to shift out of that space so quickly. And, you're right. Obviously, I can see the correlation of Asher and class and all that kind of stuff.
I'm just giving you time.
Well, now I would like help in moving through this and continuing rather than awkwardly sitting here staring at me.
It's not awkwardly, it's compassionately.
Well, I feel awkward.
Okay.
You can obviously understand and relate to what raw vulnerability feels like.
Okay. I started yoga I don't know when. And I've never I was never able to maintain. But I remember the first time I heard about yoga was, and what had me interested is, there was some photo. I don't even know how I heard it, because it was a long time ago, so it could probably be fact checked, but whatever. There was some photo that came out of Madonna and her arms, and she was just ripped. And
it's like the early 2000s.
Was that?
Yeah, I remember.
And they were like, so you know where I'm going with it. They're like, how does she do that? It was just yoga. And I remember yoga, I I think I like heard it, but I don't even know. I just remember I was like interested in that. I'm like, oh, that's how you get fit. That's how, because it wasn't about, it was just like, that's how strong she is. That's how fit she is. This is why her body is socially acceptable and the way bodies are supposed to look socially. And I remember like they had like some print. It was like, I don't know if it was Cosmo or something, but they showed, you know, the cartoon pictures of the poses to do. And so I was doing it. I was like, this is like, at the time, I'm like, this isn't going to get you strong. This is too easy. This is like what I'm like, oh, I'm going to sound like this and get Madonna arms. I don't think so. So I remember kind of dismissing it at the first because the information they had and how it was coming out was just like, it was too easy. Also, hello, strong body back then, that I'm like, oh, this is too easy. It is definitely not that way now.
How old were you, do you think?
I don't know.
Did you have the kids by then, or?
I can't tell. And I know that that's silly that, you know, but you know how those blind spots, so I can't tell. I can't tell. I don't know. I don't have that.
That's okay.
I can't see around that. Like part of me thinks no. Part of me thinks it was before then because of the strength of my body, because of, you know, where I was at that time. But I don't know. And so that was like my first introduction. And that's always been like the base of it is yoga bodies, right? Yoga butts, like all of like the ways that they have like taken what is yoga out of it. And then you heard, then you'll be calm, and you know, then you'll be able to calm, you'll be meditate, you won't get upset anymore. So it's like, oh, you do yoga so you can have the perfect body and not have any negative emotions. That's what. So of course I failed every time I would decide to get into it, because I was going to get healthy and I was going to get calm. And then I would like, I'm going to do it every single day, every day, starting now. Because they were like, if you would have started a year ago, imagine how far you would be today. And I was always like, okay, today's when I start every single day. And if I started at the beginning of the month, then I had that. And then I could keep going until I missed one day. And I would push myself. I hurt myself because I like the levels is like, oh, this is where I should be. So I would just push myself, and I would miss a day and boom, confidence was shot. And then I would stop. Or if I happened to get this, like, this is where I'm at, I'm going to do it every single day. Then I would have, and say it's like on the 16th of the month, then I would have to do yoga for the 16th and start counting to make up for the days that I missed, because it would have to count as the first. Then I have to do yoga for the 16th and yoga for the first, and if possible, yoga for the second. And then the next day would be yoga for 17th and either the second or the third. I would just have to like build it up to catch up. And then after I did that work, then I would only have to do it once a day. And so I would either burn out and not do it a day and be like, now I have another day to make up, or I would hurt myself. So the relationship that I had was like, no wonder I couldn't stick with it. And it was so, I don't know, kind of convoluted. And I had nervousness with it. And also like, this is what I'm supposed to look like. This is what if a yogi looks like. This is how they respond. No negative emotions, perfect body. So no negative emotions and turn into a sex object. And I just couldn't resonate. I couldn't stick with it.
Like that's the patriarchy at the, first off, right. You have to be super sexy and hot.
Because that's what.
And you sure as hell can't be a bitch.
And you got to be pleasant right? All the time. Nothing can affect you.
Yeah. No negative emotions from this female.
Right. How messed up is that? That's so messed up. So I've still wanted, like I've still had the pull. And when I was first introduced to Kundalini yoga, I was like, oh, there's something here. But my body, I've been avoidant of it. It's been like, it was too hard. It was too, like the emotions that it brought up was too, so I was avoidant. And I'm excited that now we have more information. to go into this differently, but we'll save that for another time.
We're going to be talking about this a
lot.
ton. So this is just kind of the beginning of Craig and Steph's yoga journey.
Yeah. And then I have my coach who has been telling me to do trauma yoga. And I'm like, yes, I need to do that. I'll do that because I know I feel the pull and I know it'll be there and it'll take away my negative emotions and it'll help get it out of my body. But it will help release it, like unwind it from your body. And I've been like, yes, I will. And then I forget and then it's gone. And then when it comes time to do yoga, I'm like, I'm going to do something soft on the internet. Let's look something soft up. I don't want to or I will look it up and see like yoga for trauma release. And it's, over 10 minutes. And like, oh, that's too long. I'm not there.
I only got 9 minutes to
all
do this.
All the ways that, I've had that push pull, that draw to, and that ooh avoidant. And then when we come up to this class, which now in my 40s, not at my prime. I never, right?
I think you're at your prime right now.
I've never thought it would be ever, would I ever, I was only not good enough to really keep a yoga practice, but to teach yoga.
Right.
That was never anything, that wasn't in my dreams of one day I'll do this. Cause I'll never, that's never something I could do. That's not, you have to, the parameters that I had. But then when you sent me that link for the program that we are doing and
the
how
Sacred
it was
Yoga Institute,
the deep body, soul, everything immersion. And it is, yoga has nothing to do with the physicality and having a sexy body and not having any negative emotions. That is false. That is an illusion, or they call it Maya. That is Maya. And it's anyways, I was going to, that was the shift for me, is when it was, my heart lit up and it was like, that's the pull. That's the pull. That's yes, immediately. I went from something not even being on my radar to this is my path. This is exactly. So I was super, super excited. And then they said, you're going to immediately with month 1, start filming yourself and posting them. Oh my God. So I definitely get a lot of healing with that and just loving my body where it is and realizing that it's not about where my body is. So I'm really, really excited, and I'm already feeling the way that it's changing, that it's getting stronger. And it's just been a short amount of time, and I'm already seeing a shift because now I'm coming at it from a true perspective. And it's like taking a breath. So I'm super excited, and I'm super scared.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of, can you relate to that subconscious fear of slowing down and getting into your body? Do you think that was kind of a thing that played a role over the years as well for you?
Probably, because every time I decided to go through and do it was basically a form of self-abuse. And, I don't like to slow down when I'm in trauma. I like to blur past it, go fast, blur past, kind of numb that out. So not only would I push past it, would I then become acceptable, but then I wouldn't even have to worry about what I was feeling because I just wouldn't have any negative thoughts. I just wouldn't have any of these feelings. I would be free. I would be magically free from trauma. It just wouldn't affect me anymore. Yeah. I think that was also my resistance to trauma yoga and really feeling it. There's a lot there. There's a lot there, but I'm not ready to get into it. I'm not ready to get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. I can't blame you. We got plenty of time.
Yeah.
we can just sit here in silence until you're ready.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
No, I'm teasing. It's going to definitely change our lives. Not just slowing down and getting into our bodies, but this experience that we're going through, this training, it's literally just a life-changing moment for us.
Yeah.
We are transitioning into the new evolution of who we are as people. And you guys watching, listening, get to join us on that journey if you'd like, right? There's a lot more coming. And we're just brand new, freshly, it's like we just woke up and walked into this meadow surrounded by trees, and there's this really cool yoga couple hanging out there that are going to just show us all these amazing things and teach us all these amazing things and help us tap in and connect to the things that we already have. And it's going to be amazing. I'm so excited.
Me too.
And I'm incredibly scared. And there's parts of me that are incredibly resistant. And we just get to love them all those different pieces and parts, and accept it, and no more push-pull, right? Just allow and flow. Well, anything else, babe?
That's it.
Next week or next episode, 300.
Boom.
It's big. It's actually a two-parter. So the next 2 episodes will be episode 300. And we're not going to give any more away other than it's going to be, it's a big episode. There's a lot coming. And hopefully any and all things resonate with you in some way. Also, we forgot to mention at some point, but it's still April. You can still win our backdrop. If you listen during the month of May, you can win May's backdrop, or August, or September, or whenever. We're giving away a backdrop every month. So go to Instagram and click on the giveaway tab up top, or the saved whenever it is up there. And you can win our backdrop. And we love you guys. Thank you for listening.